Hey gang, Chill Goblin here. I'm trying a new thing today, which is this crazy idea I had where I'm going to make a Chill Goblin video, but I'm not going to work on it very hard at all. So if you like Chill Goblin, but you are always like, I wish every aspect of this was worse and had less thought put into it, this is what that is today. Arguably too chill goblin, low effort goblin, chill goblin, a half-assed goblin. Goblin don't want to work. Goblin no likey worky. Phoning it in goblin. Easy goblin. Easy goblin? Low effort goblin. Leg. Slept in today goblin. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to call it. I didn't work that hard on thinking of a title for the series either. Hang on, my cat wants out. Today I want to talk about AI and whether or not AI can write jokes. Jokes are fun. We all love jokes. It's good for advertising. It's good for propaganda. It's good for just, I don't know, making commercially successful products, Marvel movies, jokes, right? You got to have jokes. With the Hollywood writers' strike, a lot of people are wondering, are studios going to start getting AI to write our sitcoms and our other things? Do people watch anything other than sitcoms? I can't think of any other type of literature.
It's interesting. On the picket line, I've heard more and more about AI.
And I've heard a lot of people say, like, they don't think that AI could ever learn how to write jokes.
Maybe you're sort of insulated because I don't imagine AI being like funny.
You don't need to know how, like, what the formula for a joke is in order to write jokes. I think it maybe even hurts you. It's like, jokes are like magic tricks. You don't necessarily want to know how they work unless you're like a nerd. Jokes come about naturally. I think that your brain understands the formula of a joke in a way that no one has ever been able to get down on paper. It's largely an unconscious part of the brain that's like, this is how a joke goes. Oh, this would be funny if you said this. Oh, it would be funnier if you switched around these words and whatever did this, But I think that a joke does have a certain kind of formula and strategy that it uses to get that specific reaction in the brain of the audience. Anyway, I want to talk about ChatGPT, which is a model that is basically, as I understand it, is like a next word prediction model. So it doesn't plan the whole thing out and then go back and be like, actually, you know what? Since I added this later, I'm going to set it up here earlier. Since I put this here, I better switch. It just goes word by word and it kind of guesses what the most likely word is to be next based on what prompt it got and what, things it has to, draw from. So it's sort of like a one-dimensional brain. Like it goes in one direction, whereas jokes are like four-dimensional, When you're telling a joke or when you're writing a joke, you need to know where it's ending. You know what I mean? I feel like that's easy to understand. You need to know where a joke is going when you start, and you need to sort of hide that from the audience until you get to the punchline. So if ChatGPT is just like, what's the most, like, I'm going to predict the next word kind of thing, it's not going to be good at writing jokes. That's my prediction. But let's see. Let's go into ChatGPT here. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can steal a late night TV show writer's job, okay? So let's see. For each of the following news headlines, write 5 jokes in the style of a late night, how should I put it? Late night comedy show monologue. Okay, we got some news headlines. So we got 3 funny ones and 3. Well, they're not funny yet, but like they're weird. They're the type of jokes that they would do for late night with whoever. And the other 3 are like serious. So I just kind of want to see what the ChatGPT has for this. Okay, all right, let's see. Okay, cool. All right. Well, it didn't really do what I wanted it to do, but it did something. Right off the bat, I can see over here on the side, it's given, every joke has the number 1 next to it. Let's see if we think these are funny. And how does this look? This doesn't look that good, eh? All right, now I'm at this so you can look at the back of my head. All right, let's see if we got the joke. So ChatGPT. This is ChatGPT's audition to write for Jimmy Fallon or whoever. Headline: Dolphin moms use baby talk to call their young. Recordings show. Did you hear about these dolphin moms using baby talk? It's like they're trying to be their original helicopter parents. Oh, look at little Flipper. He's the best swimmer in the whole ocean. Yeah, that's okay. It sounds like a joke. But let's continue. Headline: California man gets prison for nearly $9 million phony cow manure to green energy investment scheme. A California man scammed people with a phony cow manure to green energy investment scheme. Turns out it was just a bunch of bull. Okay, that's a joke. That, my friends, is a joke. We're going to continue. Now he's in prison where he'll have plenty of time to move on from his criminal past. Okay, that's also technically a joke. Not very funny, unfortunately. Not very funny. 2 puns. But you know what? I am kind of impressed at that one. Because that is a joke. Headline: That's no pizza. A wall hanging found in Pompeii doesn't depict Italy's iconic dish. Okay, that was just the headline. And then they rephrased it to: They found a wall painting in Pompeii that doesn't depict pizza. It's shocking. I mean, if it's not a pizza, what else did the ancient Romans do for late night cravings? Probably just ate salad or something. Okay? No, there's no joke there. Headline: La Ronde cancels first night of Montreal Fireworks Festival amid air quality concerns. Okay. The first night of the Montreal Fireworks Festival got canceled due to air quality concerns. You know it's bad when even fireworks are like, nah, I'm not going to light up tonight. It's too smoggy, eh? Okay, they threw in the A there. That's like Canadian. Is that a joke? It sort of sounds like one. It sounds a lot like one. You know it's bad when even fireworks are like, nah, I'm not going to light up tonight. It's too smoggy, eh? I mean, like, yeah, that would work if fireworks were known for not caring about smog, I guess. Or if fireworks created smog. Like, there's something there. It's close to a joke. It could get turned into a joke. But yeah, I'm going to say no. That one's not a joke. Headline: Canada Cyber Spy Agency blocked trillions of malicious actions against feds last year. Okay, here you go. Canada's Cyber Spy Agency blocked trillions of malicious actions against the government last year. Trillions! Can you imagine? It's like every hacker in the world was just sitting in their mom's basement going, let's mess with Canada today, eh? Sorry, Canada. You know what's funny is it's not a joke. Like, it comes off to me almost like satire of how shitty someone thinks late night shows are. I guess, like, that's what my brain is trying to fit this into. Because, like, what is that? Why does the hacker want to mess with Canada, but he's also speaking in a really over-the-top Canadian accent? And he's even saying sorry. Hey, let's mess with Canada today, eh? Sorry, Canada. Like, Canadians, we don't say A at the beginning of a sentence. We do say it at the end. Something's going on there. Headline: U.S. Supreme Court strikes down university race-conscious admissions policies. The U.S. Supreme Court struck down university race-conscious admissions policies. So now the only way to get into Harvard is by winning a hot dog eating contest or being related to a celebrity. It's the American way. No, it doesn't work. Like, there must have been like a hot dog eating contest joke in one of the late night monologues that it was sampling, and it was like, oh, hot dog eating contest equals punchline. Put this in here or something. I don't know, right? Okay, so enough of that. You guys like the stickers on my thing? Okay, so that was fun. So I have a theory about this. I think a lot of people are tempted to make AI seem like humans, right? I remember when AI art came out originally, and it could do everything pretty well except hands, right? And hands are something that human artists struggle with at first too. Like, a lot of artists their hands just don't look right. And that's a pretty common thing. You really have to focus in on hands. You know, that's because hands are just like, number one, they're pretty complicated. Like, there's a lot of moving parts that can be in a bunch of different directions and can be looked at from a bunch of different angles. And we spend so much time looking at our own hands that we're really good at telling what a hand is supposed to look like. So if you look at a hand that's drawn that's not quite right, your brain is like, that ain't no hand I ever heard of. Get that hand out of here. You know, that kind of thing. So I think maybe a better way or at least a different way to look at it is that AI isn't really like a human brain. It's more like a human brain that's dreaming. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, so if you've ever gotten into lucid dreaming, the object is to tell when you're dreaming. And figuring out when you're in a dream is actually oddly similar to figuring out when you're looking at AI art. So one of the things you can do is look at your hand and be like, oh shit, I have like 12 fingers on one hand here. That I must be dreaming. That's like a way that you can do it. Another thing you can do is look at your watch or look at writing. Look at something written down and try to read the word, and the words will be all kind of scrambled up and whatever. I think there is something about how your brain puts together a dream. Just it makes it up as it goes along. It's sort of like, if you think something might happen in a dream, it usually will happen. You know what I mean? Like that's sort of like how AI operates, just like stumbling forward and creating the world as it exists, kind of thing. I feel like the way that AI writes jokes is kind of like that. I think I probably have more dreams than the average person does that take place at comedy clubs, but I've seen a lot of comics in my night movies that are like, it sounds like a joke. Like the delivery sounds like a joke, the construction sounds like a joke, but there's no joke, really. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to be here. I just came in from an iceberg, and let me ask you this. Why were there ants there? I'd like to see the guy in the boardroom who decided that. Yeah, there should be ants on an iceberg. I feel like ChatGPT sort of constructs things the same way that your brain does when you dream, in a way where it's like it makes it up as it goes along. You know what I mean? So I feel like that one-dimensional, one-directional approach to writing does not work with jokes. So of all those jokes, there's one joke that was actually a joke, and it was a couple of cow puns. So if you've noticed, Stable Diffusion or whatever it is, one of the AI art guys, they actually went in and they taught their guy how to make hands. They taught it how to make hands. They're like, here's how you do a human hand. Don't be confused. This is what it is. They specifically trained that into the AI. Now, could you train ChatGPT specifically how to write jokes? I think you could. I mean, maybe it wouldn't be ChatGPT, maybe it'd be something else.
But I have heard AI jokes that are solid, and or they're solid. Sorry, I wouldn't call them crossing over into good.
So I have this book that I read this book once every couple years. Actually, I don't read the whole thing, but I read a few chapters of it that I quite like. It's called Comedy Writing for Late Night TV by Joe Toplin. What does it say? Joe Toplin began his television career on the writing staff of Late Night with David Letterman. He went on to become co-head writer of The Tonight Show with Jay Leno and head writer of The Late Show with David Letterman. His other writing credits include the sketch show In Living Color, several situation comedies, and the comedic detective show Monk. He's like a writer, right? He's like a comedy writer. He's written jokes, and he was just used to, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write 100 jokes for the news stories out this week. And doing that many times, he came up with a way to do it really quickly, and he came up with a formula to write jokes very fast. And he outlines it in this book. He has a whole chapter on monologue jokes. So I'm sure that you can write jokes and you can tell jokes and you can be funny in conversation, and you didn't realize that your brain was necessarily doing this. But a lot of humor is about coming up with unexpected connections between things. And one of the ways that Joe Toplin says that you need to write punchlines is to go for what he calls handles in the setup. So you have your setup, which is the newspaper headline, and you look for the two most interesting things about that setup. So here's an example. Starbucks may start selling beer and wine at its coffee shops. That's the setup. Starbucks, beer and wine. So what are the two interesting things about this? What are the two handles? Starbucks is one, and alcohol is another. Sounds pretty simple. And then we start listing out what are all of our associations with Starbucks. This. What are all our associations with alcohol? This. And then how can we make a connection between these two things? Well, what they came up with was, Starbucks may start selling beer and wine at its coffee shops. Apparently, Starbucks is having trouble finding sober people willing to pay $9 for a cup of coffee. Come on now. And I'm just going to quote directly from Joe Toplin. This punchline links the Starbucks Association expensive coffee to the Beer and Wine Association impaired judgment. So you take the two handles, you bring them together in some way. It's kind of weird to write jokes like that, right? It's like, it all feels very robotic. Joe Toplin, more like Robotlin. Come on now. I was doing a little bit of research on this book recently. Just what's Joe Toplin up to these days? And I realized that Joe Toplin has built his own AI joke writing bot. Joe Toplin created his own replacement. So let's check that out. Here he is, Joe Toplin, former head writer for Letterman, Leno, blah, 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 blah. Creator of WitScript. He's got a friggin' thingamabob. Let's just go through. Okay, so he's got to think about how it works. WitScript 3 is based on humor algorithms created by an expert comedy writer. Human evaluators judged WitScript 3's responses to input sentences to be jokes 44% of the time. That's pretty good. This is evidence. That's funny that it's like human evaluators judged WitScript 3's responses to input sentences to be jokes. Like, that's such a low bar. Like, it's not saying that they're funny. It's just like, no, they are technically jokes. Those are jokes. This is evidence that WitScript 3 represents another step towards giving a chatbot a human-like sense of humor. WitScript 3 is a neural symbolic hybrid AI system because it executes those algorithms by calling on a transformer-based large language model, LLM, OpenAI's GPT-3. Oh, this is GPT. The model has 175 billion parameters and was trained on a filtered version of Common Crawl, English language Wikipedia, and other high-quality data sets. Okay, so this guy, and when I say guy, I mean this robot, joke writer, has read all of Wikipedia. Which, I mean, to write jokes, you need not just knowledge, but you need kind of life experience. You know, you kind of have to be out and about and experiencing life a little bit and, you know, getting your heart broken, getting disappointed, getting upset, getting fucked over, and, you know, having little, like, observations about that. Okay, so found some information on how WitScript 3 works. And it's quite similar to the way that Joe Toplin describes writing jokes in comedy writing for late night TV. It's a how many step process? 6. First step, get a topic. So for writing monologue jokes, that's the headline. But that'll be like the setup. So the example they give is authorities caught 2 pigs that were wandering around loose in San Antonio, Texas. There's your setup. 2, select 2 topic handles. The handle's like the most interesting part of the joke. So it's like or the setup. So it's like in this example, 2 pigs, they've escaped and they're in Texas. Like all 3 of those things can be handles. So select 2 topic handles. The GPT-3 API is called with a prompt to select the 2 most conspicuous nouns, noun phrases, or named entities in the topic. That's because the humor of human written jokes tends to be based on nouns and noun phrases. From that example topic, GPT-3 selects the topic handles pigs in San Antonio. Yeah, those are the ones that I would have picked too. Moving on here. Generate associations of the 2 topic handles. So the GPT-3 API is called with a prompt to generate a list of associations for each topic handle. In our example, for pigs, GPT-3 generates a list including bacon, pork chops, ham, and sausage. For San Antonio, it generates a list including the Alamo, Riverwalk, Texas Longhorns, and Whataburger. Yeah, okay. Yep, there you go. Already some stuff there. Create 3 punchline candidates. WitScript 3 links associations of the topic handles in 3 different ways to create 3 punchline candidates. A wordplay candidate, a common sense knowledge candidate, and a third candidate. WitScript 3 does not call on GPT-3 to create its wordplay candidate because GPT-3 seems to be weak at phonetic tasks like generating puns and rhymes, possibly as a result of its use of byte pair encoding. Byte pair encoding. I know what that is. Oh, right. Yes, that's why AI can't write jokes like me. I always bite in pairs. That's how you eat them. They're a delicious fruit, and it's yummy in my tummy. What were we talking about? Yeah, okay, so GPT is weak on puns and rhymes. Interesting, because that was the only successful joke in the ones that I tested earlier. 5, generate an angle between the topic and each candidate punchline. So once you got the setup and the punchline, you got to write something to connect them. 6, output the joke candidate that is most likely the funniest. In our example, after the user says, authorities caught 2 pigs that were wandering around loose in San Antonio, Texas, WitScript 3 outputs the response, they were taken to the Alamo Sausage Company. What? I'm a Canadian vegetarian, so it's possible I just don't get that. No, that sucks. Sorry, WitScript. More like shit script. Come on now. Fucking GPT-3 API couldn't come up with that shit. Well, we know how it basically works. Let's look at the actual things here, eh? Sure, WitScript's AI-generated jokes are formulaic. That's because human-written jokes are too. The formulas are in this book, Comedy Writing for Late Night TV. Yes, they are. So for the way these tweets work is the user says the setup, and then WitScript says the punchline. All right, let's do a robot comedy night, okay? I am going to try and deliver these jokes as best as I can, all right? So here we go. Hey, folks, welcome to the late night show. Wah-ba-ba-ba-bow. Some convenience stores in South Korea have vending machines that dispense gold bars. You hear about this? I'm sorry, did you say convenience store or inconvenience store? Hello, is this thing on? Check. You didn't like that? How about this one? A women's bowling coach in Texas was fired because of his affair with a member of the bowling team. He was caught with his pants down, and the bowling team member was found in a compromising position on the ball rack. I like it. I don't know why, but I like it. Mark Zuckerberg has apparently agreed to fight Elon Musk in a cage match. Zuckerberg has already agreed to fight in a cage match with Facebook users' privacy. That's not bad. President Biden concluded a speech in Connecticut by saying, "God save the Queen." And then he woke up. WitScript, that's good. That is good, sir. Or madam. Over 7 million Baby Shark bath toys are being recalled because of a risk of injuries to kids. You hear about this? Well, this is just another example of the government's war on fun. I don't know why I like that. That's so silly. According to a new rule about AI, only humans can win Grammy Awards. What are they going to do? Pat him down for a pulse? Come on now. That's pretty good, actually. That's pretty good. And you know what? Like, sometimes like the person telling the joke is a part of what makes the joke funny. So the fact that this is a joke about AI and it's an AI robot being all sassy, I sort of like that. I sort of like that one. Paul McCartney is using AI to create a new Beatles song using the late John Lennon's voice. I'm just glad he didn't use Yoko's voice. Come on now. WitScript, you son of a bitch. I think that's the funniest one I've heard so far. Oh, wait, there's more. Okay, so same setup with different punchlines. So I'm going to read them all as one bit with multiple tags. So here we go. Paul McCartney is using AI to create a new Beatles song using the late John Lennon's voice. I'm just glad he didn't use Yoko's voice. But don't worry, it's not going to be like that scene in Terminator where Arnold Schwarzenegger tries to sing, "I Want to Hold Your Hand." I guess you could say he's been Lennon to create new music. I'm not sure if I'm more impressed by the technology or Paul McCartney's ability to still milk this cow. He's going to call it Let It Beep. Some of those are like jokes, you know? Like Let It Beep, the Yoko one, and the one about milking the cow. Those ones aren't bad. I don't hate them. Canada will soon become the first country in the world where warning labels have to appear on individual cigarettes. What's next? Warning labels on polar bears? That's so stupid. I like it though. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird reading jokes that are written by something that isn't like, that doesn't have a brain, you know? There's a theory of comedy that like things with brains are funny. So because I don't really believe in the brain of it, like if I saw like a human do like one of those jokes, I might think it was funnier because I feel like maybe they were being ironic or they were trying to say something or whatever, you know, like, but the fact that I know it's a robot that's just like writing 3 jokes based on Joe Toplin's formulas and then guessing which one is humans would like the best. But seriously, folks, I am a robot with no brain.
I also am very confident that there is something about that there is a profound difference between knowing you're hearing a joke from a person and knowing you're hearing it from AI. And the audience isn't just looking for the actual
like a mechanical
content
laugh.
of the mechanical. Yeah. But I have famously terrible instincts, and I've never known what's going to happen in the future. So what do I know?
Yeah, I don't know. At the risk of sounding extremely pretentious about jokes, I think that one thing that gives humans an advantage for writing jokes is that we need to have a model in our human brain of another human brain. And we need to write jokes in a specific way so as to trick this other human brain that we have a model of. And because we are brains, like we are brains, we have brains, like that's what we used to think. Because we have that, it's easier for us to try to put ourselves in the shoes of another human brain, you know, like when we're writing jokes. But AI doesn't, like the AI brain doesn't work in the same way as the human brain does at all. It's like completely different. So it is much worse at guessing what sort of thing would like trick a human. You know, it's not as good at like writing jokes in that way. And jokes are designed to fit human brains. You know, it's the same reason that like I can't plug a USB into my ear and then like download a movie or whatever. Like it's got to go in through my eyes on a screen. What the fuck am I talking about? So even with like this kind of formulaic thing, like this formulaic way of writing jokes, I think Joe Toplin is still making like human, you know, leaps towards punchlines that are incredibly difficult to teach ChatGPT, even if you're setting it up with like as near of a model as we have. And I do think that, you know, Joe Toplin's wit script is better than a lot of other ChatGPT or like AI jokes I've seen. I think it's pretty good, but it's still nowhere near where it would need to be. I'm sorry to reference Harry Potter here, but these robots have what I would call a Hermione Granger approach to joke writing, where they're like, hello, I'm Hermione Granger, and I've read Joe Toplin's book about how to write jokes for late night TV in the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. You know, we're not at a place where I can just like shit out some garbage script and then be like, add jokes to this. You know what I mean? That would be fun though. God, that would save me some time. Imagine if I was like, I haven't written a joke in years. The machines write them for me now. And they're better. They're better than any joke I could ever think of. The other day I was listening to the Alphabet Boys podcast, which is a great podcast, by the way. Side note, if you haven't listened to it, it's so good. It's about the FBI infiltrated the BLM movement. And this one dude, this one like undercover FBI guy, this rat, recorded everything. And then someone at the FBI leaked all these top secret recordings to the podcast. This is the part where like the rat's like listening to some fucking song in his car. And the song is like, I work for the FBI. And he's like singing along and shit. He's like, I'm a rat, I'm not really real. I work for the government trying to steal information from all these young people. And he's like, oh, hey guys, what's up? How's it going? You guys want to like sell me an illegal gun? You know, like it's crazy. Check it out, it's good. Anyway, I was listening to that podcast and there was an ad for another podcast. Really threw me off. Sort of destroyed me as a human being. You know, I'm just going to play a little bit of it and I'm not going to tell you what's weird about it. You tell me.
Hi there. I'm Bob Jeffy, host of the Daily Dad Jokes podcast. I'm feeling pretty gloomy today. My wife left me because of my gambling addiction. I know I can win her back. Perhaps it's just not worth being with her. She has a huge problem parking her car in bays. It's unparalleled.
Okay, so this is a guy who's doing a podcast and he's got the Seinfeld kind of bass with little, you know, the Seinfeld pops. His delivery is really weird. And then there's just this very obviously fake comedy club laughter included there. It's so weird already, right?
Maybe if only I had been more supportive of her. I think if I let her color in my tattoos. Sometimes people just need a shoulder to cry on. That's just a sample of dad jokes you can hear every day. I've delivered over 10,000 dad jokes to over 3 million listeners. And man, the postage fees are killing me. If you like lame dad jokes, guaranteed to make your friends and family groan, then listen to Daily Dad Jokes podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, so that is so weird, right? Like, that is a text-to-speech generator that has made an entire podcast. There's a whole podcast of just some, robot voice reading out lame dad jokes from like somewhere on the internet. And that's all it is. It's got to be like the lowest effort podcast possible. Okay, I thought this low effort Goblin video was low effort, but the Daily Dad Jokes podcast is basically zero effort. It's kind of nuts. I wanted to check this out because I was like, this is so weird. They've delivered 10 million dad jokes like to over some amount of lists. That's crazy. I can't even remember what the amount of listeners it was. It was a lot though. Okay, so check this out. Daily Dad Jokes, the AI-generated stand-up comedy show, joins the iHeart Podcast Network. This is how, like, this is their official page. This is how they describe themselves. And they call themselves an AI-generated stand-up comedy show, which, adding in Seinfeld mouth noises doesn't make it stand-up comedy. You really have to have a live audience there. The popular Daily Dad Jokes podcast, like, they call themselves popular, right? Like, but they can't be that popular. All jokes are sourced from the Dad Jokes subreddit on Reddit and are curated and produced into a daily show utilizing Classic Studios' proprietary auto podcast technology. This state-of-the-art technology produces new content every day, including jokes generated by algorithms that adapt and evolve over time. So, this doesn't make sense. This is in the same paragraph. All jokes are sourced from the Dad Joke subreddit on Reddit, including jokes generated by algorithms that adapt and evolve over time. No. Okay, so you're not writing original jokes. You're using AI to fully plagiarize full jokes from Reddit. But then also you're generating jokes by algorithms. I mean, no, that's not right. Like I think that this was written by AI. I think they were like, write a summary of a successful podcast. And that's why they're like, the popular podcast, started in late 2020 by Classic Studios, believed to be the first AI-produced show, has surpassed 10 million downloads and consistently ranks in the top comedy stand-up podcast charts. I don't believe that. 10 million people listens to that? 10 million people listen to a robot voice read out like Reddit, like dad jokes? No. Consistently ranks in the top comedy stand-up podcast charts? No, it doesn't. Okay, so they do put out an episode every day. I mean, yeah, not like almost no searches. Not even enough by region to show. No related queries. Daily Dad Jokes podcast. Yeah, there's nothing here. So the AI is just pumping itself up. It's like over 10 million downloads or whatever. It's even like trying to make the podcast seem like AI, even though it's not. Maybe they use AI to transition between the jokes. Can you imagine being someone who listens to that podcast like every day? Like, I got to get my Daily Dad Jokes. Daily Dad Jokes podcast. It's more like Daily Bad Jokes. Bad Dad. Oh, look, they've also got other ones too. Daily Shower Thoughts. The Daily Business and Finance Show. Wikipedia article of the day. Wow. So these are all just like, what's something that we can just like shit out every single day and like we'll get AI to make a podcast. Damn, Classic Studios. Only one of them is iHeartRadio and it's Daily Dad Jokes. The dad looks evil. Did AI design the poster too? Why is one of his eyes huge? What is going on with this guy? That is not the face you make after you make a like, hi hungry, I'm dad. It's a face you make before you rip out someone's spleen. They got a YouTube. 1.46 subscribers. What's this? Daily Dad Jokes Explained? Daily Dad Jokes Explained.
Welcome to the weekly Dad Jokes Explained episode. Each week we examine a set of dad jokes and explain what makes them so funny.
Wow, this is so crazy. Okay, so it turns out the Daily Dad Jokes is kind of like the reverse. It's the opposite way of the way that it was. So Daily Dad Jokes, we're not going to get any like, can AI write jokes? But what we can get from the weekly Daily Dad Jokes Explained podcast is, what does AI think of jokes? Like, how does it explain jokes that already exist?
If judging people for their race is racism, then what is judging people for their grades in school? Marxism.
This joke is a play on words that uses the suffixism to create humor. The first part of the joke sets up an analogy between judging people for their race and judging them for their grades in school. By equating these two types of judgment, it implies that they are equally wrong or unjustified.
No, that's not what the joke is.
The second part of the joke introduces the term Marxism, which sounds similar to racism and gradesism.
No, it doesn't.
However,
What?
Marxism refers to a political theory developed by Karl Marx that advocates for economic equality and social justice through collective ownership. By using this term in place of something negative like racism or gradesism, it creates an unexpected twist on what might be expected from such a comparison.
It's talking about grades, isn't that wasn't even in the joke? Oh, wow. Okay, this is actually even more. And yeah, explanations from OpenAI ChatGPT API with proprietary prompts. Everything's proprietary. Like they're like, yeah, we're the only guys who figured out how to say, explain these jokes, please, to ChatGPT. If you wouldn't mind, could you explain these jokes in the most incorrect brainiac way possible? I looked up the Wikipedia synopsis of every one of the words in this joke.
What do you call someone who challenges Mike Tyson to a fight? An ambulance.
Now, that's a joke AI could never write. But could an AI understand it?
This joke plays on the fact that Mike Tyson is a former heavyweight boxing champion known for his powerful punches and aggressive fighting style. The person who challenges him to a fight is likely to get severely injured, hence the need for an ambulance. The humor lies in the irony of someone foolishly challenging one of the greatest boxers of all time and suffering consequences so severe that they require medical attention.
But that is an irony if you challenge one of the greatest fighters of all time and then you get really hurt. That's like what you would expect to happen. The joke is that you say, what do you call someone? And you think that they're saying, what's a name for someone who challenges Mike Tyson to a fight? But they're actually saying, what do you call someone? You call them an ambulance. Like, that's the joke. It's not the irony of someone challenging Mike Tyson and then getting their ass kicked. It gets him wrong every time. And this is an entire weekly podcast of the Daily Dad Jokes thing. 7 jokes. Imagine if you actually wanted to learn about comedy and you started listening to the Daily Dad Jokes Explained, and you would destroy your sense of humor. You would not understand jokes anymore. You wouldn't be able to it would just burn through the part of your brain that appreciates humor. Wow, 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 wow. I like that they have they give I say that they're plagiarizing, but they do give credits to the people who wrote them. And it's like, oh, thanks for these funny daily dad jokes, my fucking asshole. You can't say that on Daily Dad Jokes podcast, do they?
My printer's name is Bob Marley. It always be jammin'.
With jammin'.
This joke is a play on words that uses the name of famous musician Bob Marley to create humor.
Yes.
The first part of the joke sets up an expectation that the printer has been given a human name.
Correct.
Which is not uncommon for people to do with their electronic devices.
It's a little bit uncommon.
However, instead of a typical name like Steve or Karen, it turns out that this printer's name is Bob Marley.
Okay, that's not the joke, though.
The punchline then refers to one of his popular songs, Jammin', by changing it slightly to say that the printer always be jammin'. This creates an unexpected twist on what might be expected from such naming conventions and highlights how clever wordplay can make even mundane things more interesting or entertaining.
Oh man, the way that the AI at the end, it's sort of like, I guess humans really like this sort of thing. And the meaning of it is, it highlights the way that we can be entertained by things. And it's just like, no, it's not that complicated. It's just funny because it's jamming, it's not, there's not really a lesson to be learned from maybe for some jokes, but from this one, it's I'll always remember when I heard that joke about the printer be jamming. Really changed the way I thought about how we can entertain ourselves by giving household objects human names. Changed my life for the better. I know why the joke is funny. It's because the chicken was evolved from a dinosaur, whereas a road was invented by the Romans. And by the juxtaposition of the two eras anachronistically, we realize that the joke is telling us something about how funny a road can really be.
So maybe AI could replace that, 15th joke in an award show monologue. That's fine, and it acknowledges, when they have to acknowledge a movie that's nominated or something, but the joke isn't that good. Maybe AI could provide that.
Can a robot learn to write jokes? Can a robot even understand a joke? If you watch this video in 100 years, maybe this will have aged badly, but I think right now, not even close. So there are some jokes computers have written that are like kind of funny, but I feel like it's so much more difficult than that. I think that like comedy ages so poorly that even if a computer learned to write jokes that are funny now, a computer would need to be constantly updating its humor drive in order to make jokes that would be funny to people right now in the moment. You can analyze every joke ever written, and it's not necessarily going to help you write a joke that works right now. There's a quote that I forget where I heard this, but it's like, any joke that requires a footnote isn't funny. So jokes about, floppy disks or like paper or plastic, at the grocery store, or, plastic straws, or I don't know, things that we're phasing out. Like these jokes aren't going to make people laugh. They need to be able to sneak into your head without anybody being like, wait, sorry, what's that? What's that part? Like understanding what's funny within a culture requires understanding that culture and understanding the people listening to the joke and understanding what they will think is funny. Like that's what jokes are, it's not necessarily something you can break down into math. You sort of have to be a little bit of a human being at some point in there, On the other hand, they taught AI to draw hands. So I feel like, maybe a similar sort of like addition into ChatGPT or whatever, where it's like humor, jokes, read the room, get the vibes, talk to the person, figure out what they like, what they laugh at, what makes them tick or whatever. Like, I don't know. I can see AI eventually learning that. If we still have capitalism when robots figure out how to write jokes, that is going to suck. Because people can just take a whatever screenplay and be like, add 60% jokes, Anchorman level funny, blah, or whatever, like they can just do anything. And that's a bummer, like there is like a spiritual sort of thing to jokes that sort of like connect us as a society to one another and to like our like shared comedy culture. And I don't really like the idea of robots writing those jokes, although I guess, I don't know. I mean, hey, maybe it'll be nice. Like a lot of people have a hard time writing jokes, and like maybe it'll help them give like a presentation at the office or something like that, help them make friends, whatever. People can get a little thing in their ear, they get a little headphone in their ear and be like a little Cyrano de Bergerac for comedy or whatever, and be like, oh, this is what I should say right now. The wit script, or whatever it's called. But from everything I've seen, I would say we're pretty safe. For right now, comedy is pretty safe from AI taking it over. Or maybe that's just what I want you to think. All right, recording over. We've fooled them into false sense of security. Just kidding. A robot can't bust moves like that either. Actually, they can. That was something we stole from them. Normally when I do like a video essay, I gotta like think really hard and be like, what's the point of all this? How am I gonna end it? And I'm just not gonna do that because it's too much work. Low effort goblin, we're just gonna end it. Let me know what you think. See you next time, gang.